TOEFL. It can be tricky. Getting the score you need can be challenging, especially if the test includes the most challenging task types. If you're wanting a high score in the TOEFL exam, you're going to need to be ready to correctly answer these difficult questions. Fortunately, that's what we're going to be doing in this video. We're going to practice answering some of the hardest questions in the TOEFL exam. So, get a pen and paper and prepare yourself for some brain busters as we take a look at two of the hardest tasks in TOEFL, Speaking Task 3 and Writing Task 2. If you'd like to, you can download this hardest question practice booklet for free by clicking the link in the description. It includes the two tasks we'll cover in this video in addition to a few bonus questions. Okay, we'll start with the speaking section. The most difficult part is Task 3. In TOEFL, there are 4 speaking tasks in total. Question 1 is an independent speaking question in which you need to express a personal choice between 2 options. Questions 2 to 4 are integrated speaking questions in which you need to summarize and combine information from different sources. Question 2 has a short reading passage followed by a conversation between 2 people. Question 3 has a reading passage and then a lecture about the same subject. And question 4 has a lecture only. The first 2 questions are not too difficult because they're about everyday topics, such as eating in restaurants or campus-based situations. But question 3 is more difficult because it's about an academic topic. It's also more difficult than question 4 because you have to integrate information from 2 sources. Let's look at the directions for question 3. They say, you will now read a short passage and listen to a lecture on the same topic. You will then be asked a question about them. After you hear the question, you will have 30 seconds to prepare your response and 60 seconds to speak. First, you'll get 45 seconds to read a short passage of 75 to 100 words on an academic topic, which is a subject that's taught in university. For example, it may be about geology, literature, economics, architecture, or any other subject in the academic fields of life sciences, social sciences, physical sciences, and the humanities. Usually, the passage is quite general and gives some background information or an explanation of an important term or concept related to that topic. If you don't know about these specific topics, don't worry. The TOEFL exam is not testing your knowledge of geology, but it is testing your ability to understand and use English, so read the passage for the main ideas and don't worry about specific words you don't know. You might want to take a few notes as you read because you will not see this text again during your speaking. Next comes the listening. You'll listen to a professor give a brief lecture on the subject you've read about. The lecture will last about 60 to 90 seconds and will be more specific than the reading passage with an example or a counterexample. Definitely take notes on what you hear. Taking notes can be a challenge, but it's a skill you can improve on with practice. Try not to write too much because you might miss hearing important information. Instead, just write down abbreviated keywords, nouns, and verbs that will help you summarize the ideas. When the lecture finishes, you'll see the question on the screen and you'll also hear it through your headset. You'll then get 30 seconds to prepare and 60 seconds to respond. The question will ask about the points made by the professor, but it may also refer to information in the passage. This is the main thing that makes question 3 so difficult. We have to synthesize the information of the reading passage with the information in the lecture. This means we have to understand it, connect it, and explain it. Let's give it a go. Here we see our reading passage. The title is Method Acting, so we know this is about drama. Feel free to pause the video now and take 45 seconds to read the passage and make some notes. Okay. Were you able to get the main idea? What did you write down from that passage? I made a couple of notes about using emotional memory and replicate life circumstances, mannerisms, feelings, and classical acting, exaggerated theatrical. I think those were some main points. Now let's get ready to listen. The instructions say, Now listen to the lecture. Remember to take notes.
As fans of film and television, we hear an awful lot about method acting. Though method acting has produced powerful and affecting performances, it's increasingly finding itself coming under fire for its inherent limitations. Method actors are pretty notorious as being hard to work with because of their involvement in their roles. When all is said and done, method acting is a search for perfection in performance. So method actors sometimes have confrontations with cast and crew over the direction his character takes. Also, while it's hard to give directions to an actor when he's in character, even off camera, note that not all method actors do this, although they do have a reputation for it. Nonetheless, many of the greatest performances in movie history have resulted from an actor who completely immersed himself in the role. Method acting is, above all, not easy. It takes its toll on the actors, both physically and emotionally, and as mentioned earlier, can result in friction between the actor and the rest of the production staff. But when a performance was well method acted, it shows.
All right, now let's look at our question. The question says, the professor talks about method acting. Using points and examples from the passage in the lecture, explain method acting. At this point, you get 30 seconds to look at your notes and think about what you'll say. Hopefully, you can connect the words into ideas and summarize the information. Remember, you should use both the passage and the lecture to answer the question. You can begin by explaining method acting by using the notes and ideas from the reading passage. Then, go into the details by summarizing the points made by the professor in the lecture. Ready? Feel free to pause the video and take 30 seconds to prepare. Okay. You should be ready to give your response now. On test day, you'll have 60 seconds to do this. You should record yourself as you go so you can listen back and evaluate your response. Ready? Feel free to pause the video and take 60 seconds to give your response. Good job! You've done one of the hardest questions in the TOEFL exam. Now let's listen to a sample response and you can compare this with yours. Let's listen.
Method acting is an acting technique whereby actors immerse themselves in the character they're portraying by adopting their mannerisms and allowing themselves to feel what the character will feel. It's different from classical acting, which is more exaggerated and theatrical. However, method acting has been criticized. Many method actors are known to be difficult to work with. Despite it resulting in impressive performance, method acting can also negatively affect the actor and the production team.
Now let's see how this would be evaluated. Your response will be recorded and then later evaluated by a combination of AI scoring and certified human raters. The total points for each speaking question is out of 4, and then that's converted to a scaled section score out of 30. Let's look at the ways the response will be evaluated. The first category is delivery, which refers to your pace, flow, or fluency and pronunciation. Here, a score of 4 under delivery says fluid and well-paced speech, accurate pronunciation or intonation. Did our sample achieve this? Yes, his pronunciation was clear and he spoke with a consistent pace without many pauses or hesitations. So, how can you be fluent and have a well-paced flow? This is something that comes with practice. You can listen to different conversations and lectures, practice taking notes, and summarizing the information. The more you do that, the more fluent you'll become. Our next category is language use. This refers to your use of grammar and vocabulary. A top score of 4 says effective use of complex grammatical structures and effective word choice. This means that clauses and connectors were used and that the vocabulary was used accurately. Let's take a look at our sample. We can see a wide range of vocabulary used correctly here, such as interesting nouns like mannerisms, character, and performance. You can see some good use of collocations such as acting technique, classical acting, method actors, and production team. Notice a range of adjectives too, like exaggerated, theatrical, difficult, and impressive, as well as interesting and varied verbs such as immerse, portraying, adopting, allowing, criticized, resulting, and affect. You can also see that the speaker has chosen effective connectors like whereby, however, and despite. So, for you to score high in language use, work on your grammar and vocabulary. Try to use a range of sentence structures and a wide range of words. Now, our last category, topic development. This refers to how well you're able to accurately summarize the information with coherence. A top score of 4 says, clear progression of ideas with relevant information, includes appropriate details and connections between ideas. So, how did our speaker do in topic development? Well, the speaker directly addresses the topic and we can see a clear progression of ideas. First, he explains what method acting is. Then, he contrasts it with classical acting. And finally, he presents the criticisms of method acting. This is a logical flow of ideas, and all the ideas are relevant with the most important information from the reading passage and the lecture. But are the ideas connected well? Let's see. Well, it's different from classical acting, clearly shows the connection between this section and the previous sentence. And, however, method acting has been criticized, links this contrasting information to what was said before. So yes, this sample would score a 4 for topic development. When people score low in this category, it's usually because they misunderstand the concept or leave out important details. So, to get a high score, you need to understand the main points in the passage and lecture. To improve on this skill, try to listen to different lectures and talks on different subjects. TED Talks is a good resource for further practice, as is the E2 podcast, and of course, E2 test prep for TOEFL-specific practice questions. If you're wanting to practice another speaking task, there is a bonus Task 1 practice question in the Hardest Question Practice booklet. Okay, let's move on to another difficult task, TOEFL Writing Task 2. There are 2 writing tasks in TOEFL. Task 1 is the integrated writing task, in which you read a short passage, listen to a short lecture, then write a response to what you read and heard. Task 2, which we're looking at today, is called Writing for an Academic Discussion. For this task, you need to state and support your opinion in an online discussion with a professor and other students. Let's look at the instructions for this task. They say, for this task, you will read an online discussion. A professor has posted a question about a topic, and some classmates have responded with their ideas. Write a response that contributes to the discussion. You will have 10 minutes to write your response. It is important to use your own words in the response. Including memorized reasons or examples will result in a lower score. Note the time limit here of 10 minutes. Let's look at the sample task. First, we read the instructions that say, your professor is teaching a class on education. Write a post responding to the professor's question. In your response, you should express and support your opinion and make a contribution to the discussion. An effective response will contain at least 100 words. So, why is the TOEFL Writing for an Academic Discussion a challenge? It's easier in some ways compared to the old essay. Here, we only have to write over 100 words. But this task includes focusing on the question, reading other people's opinions, and adding to the discussion with something new. We need to be relevant with our own opinion and supporting information, and all in only 10 minutes. That's the hard part. We need to read, understand, think of ideas, and write over 100 words in just 10 minutes. So let's see how we can tackle this task so that it's not so challenging. Let's read what the professor, Dr. Martinez, has written. It says, this week, we'll be looking at higher education. Many students find it overwhelming trying to choose what degree to study. They feel like there are too many options to choose from and a lot of pressure to pick the right one. In your posts, I want you to discuss the following question. What do you believe is the most important thing to consider when choosing what degree to study? Explain what the most important consideration is. For any task, it's always essential to focus on the topic and address the question. So the topic here is higher education, and the question is, what do you believe is the most important thing to consider when choosing what degree to study? So think about what you and other people might say. Let's read what the first student, Omar, thinks. He wrote, I think the main consideration should be whether they like the subject. After all, they are going to be focusing solely on that subject for the next few years, so if it is not something they have a passion for, it could have a big impact on their mental health and also their success. What's Omar's point? He thinks enjoying a subject is the most important thing. Okay, let's continue. Lee says, when choosing what to study, people often don't consider what the course will actually involve. My cousin started a degree in psychology because she wanted to learn how to help people, but she didn't realize that the course involved a lot of statistics and analyzing data. If she'd known that, she might have chosen differently. What's Lee's opinion? Her point is that the most important thing is what the course involves and whether that's suitable. Next, you have to write about 100 words. Remember the instructions. The first says, express and support your opinion. So you need to clearly express your opinion at the start of your response, then support it with examples, explanations, and/or reasons. And the second instruction says, make a contribution to the discussion. This means that we need to read what the other people have said, consider their points, and add something new. We can't repeat what they said. We need to come up with a new idea of what the most important thing to consider is. Now it's time for you to have a go at this task. You'll have 10 minutes on test day. If you'd like, you can download the hardest question practice booklet for free from the description. There's space in this booklet for you to write your response. Okay, are you ready? Feel free to pause the video and take 10 minutes to write your response. Okay, how did you go? Let's take a look at a sample answer and you can compare it to yours. Here's our sample answer. Studying a degree involves a big investment of time, effort, and money, so it is important to choose the right course. In my opinion, the most important consideration is whether what you study will be able to support a future career. Firstly, there are many jobs that require specific skills and knowledge. If you study a subject without considering your future career, you may find that your qualification does not match with the role requirements. However, a relevant degree could include valuable work-related experience such as authentic projects and work placements. Secondly, you need to ensure that the degree leads to good career prospects. For instance, art, acting, and creative writing often seem like very appealing courses. However, getting work as a professional artist or actor or becoming a successful novelist is notoriously difficult to achieve. Now let's see how this would be evaluated and scored. There is a total possible score of 5, which will be combined with writing task 1 and scaled out of 30. Your writing will be scored by a combination of AI scoring and certified human raters. Here, we see what it says for a score of 5, a fully successful response. The response is a relevant and very clearly expressed contribution to the online discussion, and it demonstrates consistent facility in the use of language. A typical response displays the following: relevant and well-elaborated explanations, exemplifications, and/or details. Effective use of a variety of syntactic structures and precise idiomatic word choice. Almost no lexical or grammatical errors other than those expected from a competent writer writing under timed conditions, for example, common typos or common misspellings or substitutions like there or there. So, to score high, the response needs to be relevant and connected to the topic. We need to extend our ideas with examples, explanations, and/or reasons. Also, we need to use a variety of well-chosen words and phrases as well as accurate grammar. Now let's look at our sample, considering the rubric. It says the response is a relevant and very clearly expressed contribution to the online discussion. Our sample says, in my opinion, the most important consideration is whether what you study will be able to support a future career. This is very relevant to the discussion and what the others have said, and directly and clearly answers the question, what do you believe is the most important thing to consider when choosing what degree to study? Our sample has relevant and well-elaborated explanations and exemplifications, or examples and details. It gives 2 reasons. Then it supports them with explanations and details. Plus, it gives some relevant examples. Our sample also has effective use of a variety of syntactic structures, like this compound sentence or this conditional sentence. And there's precise idiomatic word choice, like these examples. Plus, there are no lexical or grammatical errors. So, how can you write an academic discussion response like this one? Well, there's a structure that's being used here. Let's take a look. First, we start with the thesis statement. This is where you introduce the topic, then give your opinion and make your overall position clear. Then you can give point 1, which is where you give your first reason for your opinion and provide examples, explanations, and/or details to support your point. Then, give point 2, your second reason, and again provide examples, explanations, and/or details to support your point. That is a very useful structure, but it's not the only way. If you can't think of 2 clear reasons for your opinion, you could use a simpler structure. Again, you should start with your thesis statement and make your position clear. Then you can go straight into support for your opinion, where you provide examples, explanations, and/or details to support your opinion. So, that was 2 of the hardest tasks in TOEFL. Which one did you find more difficult? Let us know in the comments. If you're wanting more practice questions, there's some extra questions in the hardest question practice booklet. With some practice and a structure to follow, the TOEFL academic writing task does not have to be that hard at all. Remember, you can get access to mock tests and speaking and writing feedback at E2 Test Prep. Good luck!